Welcome to Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers on Legends 100.3, brought to you by Alzheimer's Community Care, providing help and hope for thousands of families for the past 20 years. Here's Mary Barnes, CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care.
Good morning and welcome to Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers. And this is brought to you by Alzheimer's Community Care on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. This is Karen Gilbert. I proudly serve as Vice President for Education and Quality Assurance at Alzheimer's Community Care. And I have a very special guest with me today, and that is our Vice President of Grants and Fund Development. Very, very important position, particularly for our organization, which is a not-for-profit organization known as a 501c3. Jonathan Price is our Vice President of Grants and Fund Development, and he has over 14 years of experience in government and community relations, primarily as a lobbyist and nonprofit executive. Prior to serving in his current role, Jonathan served as both the grants coordinator for the City of Deerfield Beach's Senior Services Department and as the city's grant writer. Before moving to Florida in 2014, Jonathan was an independent lobbyist representing clients in tourism, energy, workforce development, and technology. In addition to lobbying, Jonathan has also served as the executive director of a statewide nonprofit and technology trade association. As our current vice president of grants and fund development, Jonathan is responsible for executing strategies to develop donors and contributions to support the organization, identifying grant opportunities, and overseeing grant-funded activities for all of Alzheimer's Community Care's core service areas. Jonathan holds a bachelor's degree in computer science from the University of Maryland and Master of Public Administration degree from Marshall University. Good morning and welcome, Jonathan.
All right. Good morning to you, too. It's good to be here.
Now, one of the issues that we actually referenced just now about being a not-for-profit organization is we just finished our annual report for 2017, and we are able to devote 92 cents of every dollar donated directly to services. So we serve Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie County. 92 cents of every dollar actually goes to services. And that, for those who may be familiar with how not-for-profits are funded, is that fairly unusual?
Oh, that's an amazing point. And one of the things that really attracted me when I took on this job with Alzheimer's Community Care, just how many of the resources, the philanthropy, the grants, everything that's collected, the fundraisers, how much of it actually goes to the direct services, both in our daycares, our FNC program, and all the other things we do to help both the patients and the caregivers. It's actually an amazing statistic, and it's not the norm in nonprofits, and it's a great thing to.
And that was my experience as well. 40 years ago, I helped to launch a not-for-profit chapter of a major diabetes organization out in San Francisco. And at the time, we were very, very proud that that organization was able to devote 87 cents of every dollar, and that was extraordinary. So getting over the 90 cent per dollar mark is
and that's
really
been consistently happening, Karen. I mean, that's not just this year. That's not a fluke. That's
exactly.
Something that's been really a leadership as a whole. As you know, we take this very seriously, and it requires tightening the belt sometimes, and it requires reorganizing priorities, but it's always with the patient and the caregiver in mind. And when you have 92 cents out of every dollar going to direct services, it really shows in the services and resources we offer.
It takes everyone working together to their maximum effort to make that happen. And it will vary a little bit from year to year.
Yes,
this is why we review everything every year in a very official way, and we publish an annual report. And is this available on our website?
Yes. So we just finished it up. Like you said, we really took a story approach to telling what we do. So each of our core services, the statistics are nice, the numbers are nice. 92 cents. That's an amazing number. The number of people we served, if you look at it for a local organization serving 3 counties, the numbers are amazing, but the numbers don't tell the full story. The full story is really told when you get to take a dive into the lives of people that we serve. So when we composed this, we really wanted to try to capture the lightning in the bottle of what happens in our day centers, what happens when an FNC reaches out to a family, what happens when we place that ID locator bracelet on a patient who's wandering, and we tell our story through the stories of those that we serve. So yes, it's available on the website, www.alzcare.org. You can go there. It should be easy to find. It's under documents, but we'll make it easy, Karen. After we get done here, I'll put a banner up, and it should be easy to access.
The annual report, really, in addition to these financial figures, it's also a wonderful review of all the services. And you referenced the family nurse consultant, the FNC, and every family that comes to us gets to meet with a family nurse consultant, and that is a visit that they have no financial responsibility for. So families are only investing their time to sit with that nurse who can listen to where they are in the disease process, help them navigate to the resources they need, and guide them all the way through the progress of the disease. And we'll come back in just a moment to talk about those who actually do attend our day centers. Not every family needs the day center. About 1 out of 3 that we work with do. So we'll talk about what goes on in those day centers that is so special and produces our measurable outcomes. Again, this is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio. You can call Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700. You can send us an email question or comment to info@alzcare.org, alzcare.org. And if you call us, if you email to us, please tell us you heard us on Legends Radio. Getting back to the day centers.
Yes.
There is really a certain magic that occurs there because we are caring for people who are really quite advanced in the disease. Most of the families that call us are calling us when they're already in the middle stage.
Yeah.
And as we know, there is no medication, there is no intravenous infusion that makes a difference at that stage. All the clinical trials have been unable to come up with a cure or what they call a disease-modifying treatment. Our goal is to keep that family together as long as possible in the community. That takes caring for the caregivers, largely what the family nurse consultant, the FNC, does, but it also takes working with the patient to try to slow the progression of the disease. And again, we do not have a pill to do that. We have no medication that works to do that. So in your role, which involves a lot of advocacy as well for the services that we provide, you have become so engaged with the difference between a social adult day center, and there are many of those for people without special needs in the state, and the specialized adult day center. And there are less than 40 specialized adult day centers in the entire state of Florida. We operate 11 of them.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about those differences because they are quite dramatic.
Well, yeah, and that's something that's amazing about what we do. We do provide dementia-specific care, and there is a difference. There's regular adult day centers, and they do amazing work for people who are elderly, frail, maybe having some sort of neurocognitive deficiency. But when it comes down to what we do, it's specifically geared to both manage the symptoms and also, like you said, to try to slow the progression of the disease because there is no magic pill. So with that being said, we actually, and Karen, you can speak to this as well, but we actually pursued a specialized license through the Florida legislature to actually define a set of criteria of what it takes to be specialized, what it takes to be dementia-specific.
Yes, and that legislation was actually passed in 2012.
Signed by Governor Scott.
Alzheimer's Community Care played a major role in drafting it because at that point, with 15 or 16 years of experience, the organization really knew what it takes to provide safe, comprehensive care. And so now we have in Florida law very specific requirements for a specialized adult day center. So we must have one staff member for every 5 patients,
yes,
minimum, which is a greater standard than a social adult day center.
Which is a 1 in 6.
1 to 6.
Standard, yes.
We must have a nurse present in that day center at least 75% of the day.
No requirement for a regular adult daycare to have a nurse
at all.
On site. And we actually, Karen, we do it 100%, as you know, because we have both a program manager that is a nurse and our program nurse, so that we can take breaks
Cover
and
all of
cover
those
the
hours,
full
right.
period, yeah.
And then we have to provide therapeutic activities at least 70% of each day. There is no such requirement in a social adult day center. But I do want to stop and talk about that for a moment. The term therapeutic activity has a very specific definition in the law. We have to provide activities that challenge the patient to think, to use their physical abilities, to exercise and actually engage in
social
dancing, where they're using their physical abilities. We have to, exactly as you say, engage the patient socially, very actively. And we also have to address spiritual and emotional needs. So therapeutic activities, there is a really high bar for what we schedule on our calendar. We have activities that use gross motor skills, which would be using your big muscles, upper body, arms, legs, dancing. And then we have activities that use fine motor skills. So we do artwork and build
and I think
crafts.
that's an important point, because you know as well as I do with the disease, it can be isolating, right, for the caregiver.
Absolutely.
It can force you to shut in because you don't know how your loved one's going to react out in the public. So we see this with the disease, and by having these therapeutic activities and actually being mandated to do them 70% of the time, it really, really brings out the life of these patients that we serve, and it's reflective at home as well with the caregiver. We hear it all the time.
Absolutely. And we'll be back in just a moment to talk a little bit more about those differences in the specialized adult day center. This is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. You can call Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700, or send us an email with your question or comment to info@alzcare.org, ALZCARE.org. And if you do, please tell us you heard us on Legends Radio.
Alzheimer's Community Care is pleased to announce their 2018 Educational Forum, Thursday, May 17th at the PGA National Resort in Palm Beach Gardens. Family caregivers and health professionals will hear the latest on early intervention, research, and caregiver perspectives in Alzheimer's disease and related disorders. Health professionals will earn 4 hours of continuing education credit. Register by calling them at 561-683-2700 or online at alzcare.org. That's alzcare.org. Once again, please call 561-683-2700 or register online at alzcare.org. This will be an extraordinary educational event.
Jonathan, getting back to when we discussed nursing and the Florida statutory requirement for nursing in a specialized adult day center, and the law says 75% of the day, and we are virtually the entire day in our day centers, where 10 of our day centers are open 10 hours a day, 7:30 to 5:30. Our West Palm Beach Day Center is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's a long stretch. It's a long, full day. And we just talked about therapeutic activities and how incredibly important they are. We do not have our patients watching television. That's not an active engagement. So we have some televisions, but we only use them for interactive computer games. So something where they are thinking. They are really actively engaged back and forth with what's maybe going on the screen. And one thing we have to remember is when we're doing cognitive challenges, we sometimes have games that revolve around trivia and what I'll figuratively put in quotes, current events. Because again, we have patients now with long-term memories that are prevailing. Their short-term memory is very poor. So when we have discussions or games revolving around current events, we have to take events from 20, 30, 40, or even 50 years ago. But they remember it so well. It's really stunning, the recall they have and the smile on their faces when the activity coordinator says, yes, that's right, let's go on to the next question. So that makes it a very therapeutic, a very social engagement. Now, with those nurses, we do monthly health monitoring. So if the patient is safe to stand on a scale, we do get their weight. We watch carefully for changes in weight, which can be indicative of an emerging healthcare issue. We do take vital signs, blood pressure, pulse, and so on. And we are able to alert the physician and the caregiver if we see anything changing, either in vital signs or in the patient's behavior. Could be a very subtle change, but we know what that means. When their behavior changes, something is going on. They could be getting ill. They could be having side effects of their medications. So we are able to keep people out of the emergency room.
So under my department, and all those are amazing things. And so we have the marketing arm underneath my department, and we have to capture that, right, and explain it to people. And it's really difficult to do, because when you walk into this, I mean, the day center is my therapy. If I'm having a rough day, you go there and you see the smiles on the faces, the engagement, the activities. You really can't. I can talk about it. I can write a great story and highlight it. But unless you visit, if you have a loved one, if you're listening to this and you have a loved one who may need day services, you really need to reach out to our family nurse consultants or to our program managers and set up a tour. And see firsthand, because we have the annual report, we have the stories, we have everything that we try to do to show you how important and how valuable this is in the lives of Alzheimer's patients and the caregiver. But you can't really experience unless you go there and experience it. And it's a sight to behold. I mean, you see patients there singing, dancing, nonverbal patients becoming verbal.
Yes.
I mean, we've heard that from caregivers time and time again.
Yes.
I didn't even know they can sing. I didn't even know they could do this.
That's right.
And when you see that in action, and when you could be a part of it, and you could try to capture that lightning in the bottle to showcase that story, it's difficult work, but it's rewarding work, because I know day in and day out just how important our daycare services are to keep people in the home. And that's
it does keep them in the home. We are tracking very carefully, year after year, if someone exits the day center, why did they exit? Most exit because they naturally pass.
And
their life ends.
Yeah, with the disease, that's inevitable. But I mean,
but they live at home for the duration of the disease. Some move out of the area, so we help them with resources in their new city. Some do become too advanced to safely engage in the day center if they can no longer stand even momentarily with help. In other words, they become what we call a total lift. That's not safe anymore. And we will still stay with that family, help them transition. Usually they transition home, often with the assistance of hospice, which can give amazing care not only to the patient, but also to that family. And again, they pass naturally at home. So through our study, year after year, we know that fewer than 1 in 20 of our patients have been actually moving into a nursing home last few months.
And I think that's a testament. The daycare, you got to understand, is one aspect of what we truly have a model of care. And that model of care, like you said, Karen, is designed to keep the Alzheimer's patient and their caregiver in the home for as long as possible together, because that's where they want to be.
That is where they want to be, and that's a measurable outcome that we can actually track and show. And it's critically important. And we'll be back in just a moment. This is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio. You can reach Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700, or reach out to us by email at info@alzcare.org, ALZCARE.org. Jonathan, I'd like to spend our last few minutes talking about the events that are coming up. Alzheimer's Community Care is totally committed to community education. We have a major event coming up in May.
Yes, so what we have coming up, and this is something I want everyone to mark on their calendars, May 17th at PGA National in Palm Beach Gardens, we have an educational forum. Now, we do this annually. It was an educational conference last year. We're switching things up a little bit based on the feedback we got from some of our attendees, and we're going to be doing an educational forum this year. We got 3 speakers lined up, really trying to structure the day so it can be beneficial to both the family caregiver and to the professional caregiver.
Side by side.
Yes, CEUs have been approved for this, so if you're in the professional field and you need those continuing education credits, we got approved for 4 of them for this event. It's 9 to 3, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., May 17th at PGA National, Palm Beach Gardens. You can register on the website, www.alzcare.org. Go there. Right at the top, you'll see events. Click in it, educational forum. Spots are filling up quick. This is a very popular offering that we have. You said we're committed to education. We're getting a lot of feedback on this. The format has forced us to restrict seats to a certain degree just because of the size of the room. But we got a jam-packed day full of speakers talking about where we stand with the disease process now, tips, strategies on how to deal with your loved one who may have Alzheimer's disease. And then we're going to end the day with a motivational speaker who's a longtime caregiver. I don't want to give too much away.
Yes, keep it.
But I definitely want to encourage you to come to this event. A lot of planning's in it. And I want to hear your feedback too, because this is not a fundraising event for us, Karen. This is
our commitment to education.
This is straight education, and I think it's going to be an amazing time. So make sure to mark your calendar, May 17th, PGA National. Register online and come out to this thing. If you have are impacted by Alzheimer's disease, have a loved one looking for more information, going to have a lot of resources available. I think this is something you should definitely make the time for.
Yes, and for health professionals, 4 hours of continuing education are approved for this day. So, and we often have pretty much a 50-50 mix of family and professional caregivers side by side, and it's a wonderful day.
And the cost is really reasonable. I believe it's
$40 for caregivers.
Yes, and then
$65 for professionals.
See, and Karen, you should be in my department, because I tell you what, sometimes you know these things better than I do. But very reasonable, just covers cost. So not a fundraising event, but you'll get a lot out of the day for that.
But as a not-for-profit organization, we also need to have fundraising events.
Oh, yes.
So your season is kind of winding down, but it starts up again in the fall. So tell us a little bit about what caregivers and professionals can look forward to in late 2018 and early 2019.
Well, I'll tell you what I can look forward to, and that is taking a big sigh of relief that the season has ended. It's a stressful time for our department. But it's an amazing time too.
We get to very rewarding.
We get to showcase who we are as an organization. We get to see the support that we have in the community come out in droves and help us fund these things. 92 cents, like you said, every donated dollar, 92 cents goes to direct services, and we couldn't do it without these fundraisers. So what we have coming up, last year, we themed them with the winter theme, right?
Yes.
So we're looking at the seasons, because life is a season, right? There's all sorts of seasons of life. So we chose winter first. Winter could be dark, foreboding, but it's also renewing. And this year we're following with that theme, and we have spring. So we have a spring theme, and we got 3 luncheons. These are fundraising luncheons to come to. The first one is going to be December 4th. That's a ways off, but get it on your calendar, because these are great events. That's going to be at St. Andrew's Country Club in Boca Raton. December 4th. And again, all the details for these events can be found at alzcare.org. That's alzcare.org. St. Andrew's Country Club, that's the Boca Raton one. We have one up in the Treasure Coast. That one was packed to the gills last year. We're expecting it to be packed again this year. Harbor Ridge Country Club, that is January 17th. And then we have our perennial one, Palm Beach Luncheon. Had the honor of having Legends Radio help MC that event this last year.
We'll get you
and we're going to get him back. He's smiling now, but we're going to get him back. That's on February 6th, and that's at the Beach Club itself on the island. It's an amazing event. Mark your calendars on this one, people, because this is going to be some good times. I know it's far down the road, but I can't say enough. We have a good time and good fun.
But in this part of the world, we have a very active social season.
Oh, yes.
So we want you to mark your calendars. Now, we do 2 caregiver events in the fall that are not fundraisers. These are really for caregiver, for the benefit of the caregiver. Tell us about those 2.
Okay, so we have our educational forum in the coming up May 17th, but we also do these caregiver forums. These are smaller versions of what we do. We typically did one up in the Treasure Coast, but we had such a positive reaction this last time around that we are actually doing 2. So go ahead and mark these dates down as well. It's called the Lighten Your Load Caregiver Forum. The first one's going to be November 7th. That's at the Harvette L. Finn Center, if I'm reading that properly, but it's in Fort Pierce, Florida.
It's a huge community building, county building there on Virginia Avenue. Mm-hmm.
And then we have another one in Martin County at the Blake Library, and that is going to be on November 15th. And it's not going to be the same programming. So you can go to both, and we're going to have different speakers. But yeah, up in the Treasure Coast, that's what we do. And it's played really well. These events are free. I take that back. They are not free. They are provided at no cost because as a nonprofit,
right.
In my department, we have to raise the funds to cover these things. But
the caregiver does not pay. The caregiver that's
does
attending.
Not pay.
Yes.
So we do these for the community. They are well received.
Wonderful.
You will learn a lot. And I encourage you guys to come out for these things.
Jonathan, thank you so much. Development is a very, very busy department. We didn't even touch on the grants that you oversee. Yes. We have been so fortunate. We were one of only 11 to get a federal grant, a 3-year federal grant in September of 2015, and our Impact 100 for our students, that grant as well. And grants have a lot of work that go along with them. There's a tremendous reporting requirement. We have a lot of data to collect and analyze. So on top of everything else, that's a huge responsibility as well.
We are lucky to have so much community support, and that goes to our grants and our events. And I tell you what, we didn't touch on it today. Hey, but it's reason for me to be invited
there
back.
There you
right,
go.
Karen?
We'll bring you back.
So we'll let you know next time around what we're doing in the grant space and some of our projects. But again, mark the dates. And May 17th, our educational conference. That one's just coming up.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner. So I'd like to see everyone there. And look forward to having a good time. And thank you, Karen, for having me on.
Outstanding. Thank you again. This is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio, 100.3 FM. You can call Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700 or send us an email, your questions, your comments, if you want to know more about any of the events. info@alzcare.org, ALZCARE.org. And if you do, please tell us you heard us on Legends Radio. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening to Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers. To learn more about the help and hope available from Alzheimer's Community Care, call 561-683-2700 or visit alzcare.org. That's ALZcare.org. Tune in next Sunday at 6:30 for another edition of Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers right here on Legends 100.3.